Okay, for this video we're going to be looking at frequency distribution for categorical data. And I'm going to show you a little bit of something here that isn't exactly shown in the book. But let's say you have this information and we're working with the soft drinks data set. And let's say you wanted to find out how much of this, how many instances we have without actually counting them by hand or looking. Well, we can see first of all down at the bottom there's count equals 50, so we know that's there. But we could also confirm this with a count function. So there, of course, there's a couple of ways you can do functions. We're going to go ahead and go with the insert function here for a second, and we're going to look for count because we want to count something, and we're going to go and you get these options for count because there's an actual count that says count the number of cells in a range that contains numbers, count a number of cells that are not empty, and the count if. Now we're going to go with the count if function in the text in the next couple of examples, but I wanted to show you this count a function. So I'm going to click on count a because I'm going to find out how many values we have present, and none of them are empty. So we're just going to go with count a. And as this comes up, we're not really looking for value 1 and 2. We're just going to select the range, this full range here of information, and then click OK. And we get 50. So we know there are 50 of these. 50 of these. So what we want to do now is figure out, okay, well, how many of each of these do we have? So we know there's 50 total. But how many are Coke, how many are Diet Pepsi, how many are Pepsi, etc. So the first thing I want to do is break these up into categories or bins. And one of the first bins is there's Coke, Sprite, and Pepsi. So I'm going to go ahead and take and just copy these. Say Sprite, Pepsi, Coke. So all I've done here is kind of formatted the information that we were looking at and made the bins, went ahead and made the bins, and then put a frequency column so we can calculate how many sprites are in this set of data. And of course we could do it visually, but if you have a large data set, you want to, it may be time consuming to sit and count each one. Plus you have a tendency to miss a particular count. So one of the things, I'm going to go ahead and put this back in here where we had a count information. So we're looking at a function, a count A, and then the data set was here. So we know it was 50, right? For our frequency, when we're looking at the frequency distribution, we want to put in the function that is listed on page 29. And it's a count if function. And it looks like this. So the count if, it has the $sign, the A, the $2, $B, $26, and D2. So what it's saying here is that if you have the count if function, the range that we're looking for is A2 to B26, this range of information. And we're comparing it to D2. So here's what we're looking at for D2 because it's D2. How much of this is Sprite? And you'll see that we put the $signs in front of these pieces over here for the fields, so that when we spread it down, essentially you're going to maintain this data set. All right. So if I hit enter, we get Sprite is 5 times. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight it, drag it down, and we can see that Coke is 19 times, Sprite is 5, etc. So I'm just going to format that a little bit so we get a better look at it. Okay. So beyond that, we want to look at the relative frequency distribution and percentage frequency distribution. So at this point we know what the frequency is and we know what our total count is 50. So when we're looking at the relative frequency, Alright, I'm just going to bold that and underline. We'll just do the format. We'll paint the format. And then since we want to spread this out a little bit, I'm just going to double click on the edge, and that'll give us the format we're looking for. The second one we're going to be looking for is the percentage frequency. So percent frequency, it's going to do the same formatting. Alright, double click that edge. Now we have that's all set up as well. So to get to the relative frequency, we're going to take this number, so we're going to say equals this number divided by this number. Okay? Now we want to be sure that it's divided by this number on all instances. So we're going to go ahead and say that B27 is our absolute value. So we're going to do that so that we can distribute this down evenly. So these are the numbers we get. Okay, so we're going to just straighten that out a little bit. So this should match what you have in the book. So for the sprite, you had 0.1, 0.26. It's not the same order as what's in the book, but it's the same numbers, right? And so if we add this all up, if we're looking at this whole set and we want to add it up, we just go over here and click auto sum and then enter, and it should equal 1, right? And when we're doing the percentage, basically we're just taking this number, this value in decimal, and turning it into a percentage. So I can say that for this percentage frequency, I'm going to say let's go ahead and format all of this, even the total, right, as a dollar, or I'm sorry, as a percentage. So we'll just put percentage style, and you don't see it right away, but if I said this box equals this box and hit enter, it gives us the percentage. I'm just go ahead and straighten that out. All right, and we can do that all the way down. So the percentage frequency, we can see that Sprite is 10%, Pepsi's 26%, etc., all the way down. And that's it. That's how we get to the relative frequency and the percent frequency.